Patrina Dixon. Thank you for making it to another episode of The Money Exchange. I'm here today with Professor Stacy. Stacy is known as the money teacher across all platforms, and she and I connected some time ago, and we like helping people better manage their money. And today's topic, it's going to be for anybody, but especially for those that maybe recently graduated from high school and or college, and you just need the content that help you along your way. So I'm going to first ask Miss Professor Stacy to introduce herself, and then we're going to get right into today's topic.
Hi, Patrina. Thanks for having me. I am Stacy Mastrolia, Prof. Stacy the Money Teacher. I am passionate about teaching people how to better manage their money, financial literacy, and helping them be really confident when they make decisions related to their money. I also teach at college. I teach financial literacy and upper level accounting classes. And earlier in my life, I was a corporate controller in a publicly held company.
Have her on, y'all. And for those of you that are new, pardon me that I didn't say this. My name is Patrina Dixon, and I am a personal finance coach. I'm a certified financial education instructor and registered financial consultant, and a two-time best-selling author of the book called It's My Money. So for those of you that know, It's My Money is all about you owning your money, professing it in a way, it's my money, that it's yours. You're going to be the best steward of it. You're going to continuously learn how to better manage it and ensure you know what's coming in and what's going out. So, Miss Stacy, what we both said, we help people with money. We teach financial literacy or financial education. Tell me a little bit about why that's important in your mind. Like, why do people, if people are making money and they're spending it and they're fine with it, why is the education in your mind really important?
I don't tell people how to spend their money or how much to make or what they want to place priority on. But I do believe that if you consciously decide how you want to spend your money, then you're going to be happier having spent it.
Mm-hmm.
It's when the money seems to just disappear that we feel a great deal of stress about it, or we allow money stress to impinge upon other parts of our life. So the idea that we are going to control our money, that it's our money, we are the right people to steward it, we are the right people to decide about it, and making that decision consciously, then when we look back with a smile at what we've done with the money, as opposed to frustration about at the end of the year when we do our taxes, how could I have made this much money and I don't feel like I have anything to show for it.
Absolutely. I call it getting paid on Friday, having Friday fun, and Monday or Tuesday regret.
Yeah.
Exactly right. And some people may think, I just go make more, not that they haven't any of these things that we're talking about. But, one of the things I loved about what I used to see you do, and you may still do this online, is you used to literally show examples of, somebody getting paid and then how they should. I don't know if they, at the time you were showing it, they actually had gone through the process that you would show, but how much they had coming in, because I think, and then how much they were spending or plan to spend on certain items, and then what the end result was. So I'll have you talk about that in a moment. But the term budgeting, people still have a little bit of anxiety as it pertains to that word. And I often share with them, if you don't like the word, then call the process or the exercise something else. Call it
Mhm.
your money meeting, call it whatever you need to call it. Just do the exercise. Because no matter what level or how much money you're making, you still need to know what's coming in and what's going out. Talk a little bit about the budgeting process, and when you were showing that live, doing certain examples from client examples or wherever they were coming from, why did you think that was important for people to see it, and how, I'll call it easy, when you sit down and do it, it is to do? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I agree with the bad rap that the term budget has gotten. So I like if people don't like that, using spending plan,
Yeah.
because that's really what it is. You're deciding ahead of time how to spend your money, and plan meaning ahead of time, because many people do a spending report.
Right.
After the month is over, they'll look back and they'll be like, oh, right, we spent it on that, or we spent it on that. That's a report. That's in the rearview mirror and you can't change it.
Yeah.
A spending plan is looking ahead and saying, I'm going to get paid X amount on Friday, and this is the job that I'm assigning each one of those dollars. So what you're talking about is I used to do a show a budget. I think we stopped that like last summer-ish, and really I just got so busy because it takes a lot of time to kind of break down the whole scenario because I would use client information, not like
Yeah.
names and stuff, but their data.
Yeah, I did.
Um, yeah. So usually when I work with clients for financial coaching, we build a budget, and it's as simple as saying how much you're going to make next month and where do you think you're going to spend it. So we start with that exercise, and always people normally will ends up with a lot of money left over, and they get really excited about that. And then I point out that they don't have any money left over from last month, so probably there's something on this sheet that is not right. So then we start revising the sheet. Like, do you really think that you only eat $200 in groceries? So we start kind of revising the sheet. And then once we finally get to, what they actually think their budget will be, then I start to ask, well, what are their priorities? Like, what do you want to do? Do you want to travel? Do you want to save aggressively for retirement? Like, what are your big picture goals? And then we look back at the budget and see, does that budget actually reflect any of that? And a lot of times it doesn't. Somebody's big goal might be to take a cruise this summer, but they don't have anything in the budget to save for a cruise, or maybe to pay off their car early, but they're just making minimum payments on their car. So where the rubber hits the road is when we're taking our actual goals, short-term goals, long-term goals, and trying to have that be reflected in our spending plan, which is the monthly use of our money. And that's really what that show a budget brought together, was kind of where people were spending their money and what they were actually trying to accomplish.
And I love that. I didn't know that that is how that came about. So that was really telling. I like that. So, oftentimes, and you probably see this because I know you work with students as well, is um, that age, or the students that you and I work with, the age of those students, it's like, I want to invest. What's investment? Tell me how to invest. Tell me how to invest. How have you, for those that are watching that want to, what I call leap there, because, a lot of what we're talking about is the foundational stuff in budgeting and cash flow, spending plan, whichever term you want to call it. For those that want to go, what I'll call to that point, not to say that you can't do it at the same time you're budgeting as well, but how do you bridge that gap? Can you talk a little bit about, for those that may be watching that want to go there, but they haven't really mastered here, talk about the gap there, and how do you cross that bridge?
Yeah, I think it's actually easier for people who are new to budgeting, because, especially as students, they're used to living on almost nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So if they simply say, I'm going to save 10% of my pay or 15% of my pay, and then start their budget with the after tax, after 10 or 15% savings, start their budget with that number, then they won't overspend. Like that's the idea of paying yourself first, is have it
Wait, no,
come
you
out
didn't.
first.
No, you didn't bring
I
that in. That's my thing, figure. So
I
wait,
did.
let me back you up to that before you complete that, finish that point. Paying yourself first is really important. I talk about that all the time. I try to post something about that on Thursdays and Fridays because most people get paid at that time. Why did you interject that right there? Like, why pay yourself first? Because that's a concept that individuals don't seem to grasp, as well as business owners. So it's really important. That has to be the first thing. A lot of people do that at the end if there's money left. Talk a little bit about why you interjected that age group should be able to do that based on where they are right now.
Yeah, because it is a concept, pay yourself first, but you're going to spend whatever's left. So if you set a priority for saving, whether that's saving to pay off debt, whether that's saving towards retirement, whether it's saving towards vacation, I don't care if it's saving so that you could throw $20 bills out of your car on the highway and just see the mess that you make. Like, it doesn't matter what it's for to me, it matters to you. It's your priority. So if that's your real priority, then do it first, because the rest will happen as well. But it will happen with what's left over. And I think it sets in our mind what we're actually trying to accomplish. And we feel at the end of the month like we took a step towards that because we actually did it, and we did it first.
And I love that. And the other thing I tell people is, when you pay yourself first, when life happens, then you have to take care of it, so you have money to take care of it. And what I mean by life happens, the flat tire,
Hmm.
the water heater, maybe they don't, that age group doesn't have water heater break, but the cell phone cracks, so whatever it is, right? Even with cell
Hmm.
phones, there's an insurance deductible for it to take care of it. And that's what the pay yourself first concept is about. So when things happen that's unexpected, that you didn't plan for in your spending plan, you have something there for it. So,
Yep.
as you're working with that audience, what else do you see? Do you see that they're receptive? When I say that audience, for those listening, we're talking about college age students. When they are, they've come to your session, they're in your class, and they do have an interest. They're asking questions. Do you hear any barriers, even at that age, that they have to these things that we're talking about as it pertains to money management or sound money management?
Yeah, so I've been growing because I believe that everybody has to keep learning and growing.
Yeah.
So I've been learning and growing in the area of trauma of money. So what is it that comes from our past, that we were raised with ideas? And we know we were raised with ideas about how we eat. We were raised with ideas about how we spend our free time. We were raised with ideas of how we treat our family and how we treat other people. We were also raised with ideas about money, and a lot of it is very dysfunctional for people who are growing into their independence because they've seen maybe mom and dad do something, maybe mom and dad separately do something, their grandparents do something, and some people seem to be more successful than others, and they're trying to sort all that out when at the root of it is what they were raised to think about money, to speak of it, to not speak of it. So I actually start there with a lot of the students, like identifying what their money upbringing was, their money past, how they were raised, and comparing and contrasting various members of their family or parts of their family tree in terms of who they think was successful with money and who wasn't successful. And success doesn't always mean having accumulated the most, because in my family tree, the people that accumulated the most were the most dysfunctional because they didn't know how to be generous, because you don't know how to be generous with one thing and then not with another, right? We're either generous people or we're not generous people.
Exactly.
Um, the people who were the most generous accumulated the least.
And you hit on something, because there is this myth that people that have a lot of money don't need financial education. And in doing the work, I know that that's not true, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm the prime example of, I made a lot of money and I had money jacked up like that. I didn't know, right? And
Yeah.
you hit on the trauma as it pertains to money, and there's different thoughts, rules, and thoughts about that as well. But it was, I had money, and in my mind, I spent it on things that looked, when I accumulated more things in what I would call nicer things or more expensive things, that equated to something that was not what it was at the time. I didn't know it at the time, but that's how I looked at it, right? So it was like, when I begin to think about money differently, and that's my whole tagline, I help you think about money differently. It doesn't even mean you make more money, as you think about money differently, and then you have the concept of it's my money. You start to do things different with your money. And that was my life story. That's actually why, one of the reasons why I do the work that I do, is it's not you have a little bit of money so you need financial literacy. It's people that have never been taught about how to do money in the more fiscal and the more responsible way. That's who need to
Mm-hmm.
learn about money. A lot of people think it's a certain group of people, or is it, and that those people are people that don't have a lot of money, or something else. And that's just, I've found that hasn't been true. And it sounds like you have found that as well.
Yeah, almost. It's almost shocking how many of my students who their family does have access to money, but the kid doesn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't you teach them? And when I talk to not my students' parents, but parents in general, my clients who are parents, they don't teach their kid because they're afraid to teach them wrong.
Yeah.
So you leave the world to teach them.
Yeah.
And, the world is a wild and wonderful place who maybe on average don't know anything about money. So
Exactly.
somehow we feel like we teach our kids about how to take showers and brush your teeth. We teach our kids how to dress themselves. We teach our kids how to cook for themselves, do their laundry. We teach our kids about all these things, we don't teach them about money because for some reason in that we feel incompetent.
Yeah.
And to that, I would,
Or you
you need
just
to
feel
seek it
like
out.
and I'll add to this. I remember, my daughter's a lot older now, but when she was younger, and this was before I thought about money differently, because I'm going to stay with that. My tagline there is I got when I used to when there was a need for me to go inside of a bank branch. I rarely do that now, but I did it quite frequently when I was younger. When I was a newer mom and my daughter was at like aftercare at school, I would do all of my transactions relative to the bank, going inside the bank, making deposits, taking stuff out, inquiries, whatever I need before I picked her up. So she never saw me going inside the bank and I never, so I wasn't showing her. I needed to at the time write out the deposit slip and if I needed money, what to do. And she just saw when she was in the car that I would pull up to this machine and grab money out. She never saw the money go in. That concept. And in me now sitting back, I'm like, oh my gosh, how is she supposed to know? Because I never showed her that piece. I always thought, well, I'm not going to go pick up my kid until I'm done. And I would see other parents in the bank showing their and sometimes having their children complete the slip. And I'm like, oh my gosh, will they hurry up in line? Not even grasping that they're teaching them that whole process and what that means. And so it was more like that's an example of it wasn't that I didn't have, money. It wasn't that I wasn't making money. It was the thought of bringing her there while I was doing that was more of an inconvenience than it was a teaching opportunity. So I wish I was who I am now back then, so that process with her could have started sooner. So that's an example of that. So and I don't know if you touched this. So let's just go back to this. So investing is what I hear when I'm in colleges. Um, at least three-quarters of the room that I'm in want to know about investing. How do I invest? Where to do? What do you think? Where should I go? What platform should I use? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Do you get that a lot from the students that you work with?
I do when we start the class because I always ask them, of the 6 topics we're going to cover, which are you most interested in? Like we're force ranking them. And insurance always ends up at the bottom. Insurance gets a bad rap, and investing always ends up at the top. But then I ask them, well, what does that mean to you? When I say investing, like tell me what that means to you, and I'll get an answer everything from cryptocurrency to derivatives on the Securities and Exchange market, because some students are, almost all my students in class are seniors, because it's a very popular class, so it fills up with seniors. So these may be graduating finance majors. They know a lot about what they understand the market to be or investing to be. But there's a lot of people who are just, shrugged. I mean, do you consider owning a house to be an investment? Do you consider owning a vehicle to be an investment? Personally, house, yes, vehicle, no. But like, what do they actually consider to be an investment? Because they don't necessarily realize that a lot of the things that they're going to buy are not investments, but some of the things that they're going to buy are investments. And if what they're talking about is kind of market-based investments, then does that mean individual stocks? Does that mean mutual funds? And this is where most of the class is just like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And I'm like, that's awesome, because in weeks 12 through 14, that's exactly what we're going to cover. But in the meantime, you got to get through these other 5 topics, one of which is lonely insurance, in order to, because I help them build the budget, which is the foundation. I help them understand credit and debt, which is a threat to them. I help them understand insurance, which is playing defense. And it's not until you have all this in place that you're ready to invest. Because while you're going to pay yourself first, you want to make sure that you are covering all of your protection, all your defense, and monitoring your fences so that when you invest, you're ready, to do that. So I get them all excited about the thing I know they want to learn about, and then I drag them through everything they have to understand before they're ready to do that.
That's so funny. I do the same thing. I'm like, I call it the building blocks. Like, right, you have to, and I used a analogy that almost all of them in the room can understand. When you're building a house, you have to have the solid foundation. And I literally like visually, do the thing with my body. Like if the house is sound, you can begin to put the walls on. You can't see me. It's sound. You put the walls on and you build a roof. If you don't have the solid foundation, when you put the walls and the roof, the house starts to go like this, right? So
Yep.
you put that solid foundation, and those are the things that you mentioned. So I do a very similar thing. And then, okay, boom, let's now, put that roof on, and then we go from there. So what's another thing that you think is interesting, that you want to share for that audience that's listening? So we talked about the foundational stuff, the spending plan. It's important to plan, not to look in the rearview mirror. We talked about paying yourself first and why that's important. You also talked about you slid in their insurance, and then we talked about investing being the piece that you go to at the end. So as you're going through this, what if you had to say three things that would be the solution to what you hear as problems? What would be those three things? So you talked about the trauma. So what if somebody's listening, they're interested in what you're talking about or what you may have available for them, how can you get them there? Why do they need this information? Three top things of why they need it.
Well, for me, it's all about confidence, making decisions, making conscious decisions, and being confident about it. So you can't do that unless you learn, unless you have knowledge. So always gaining knowledge so that you can take the next step. And by knowledge, you can't seek all of it out at the same time. I didn't know what I know now when I was 20. When I was 20, I knew this much. And when I was 30, I had this much, and then 40. And then you add to it experience, and you add to it, the bumps and the bruises that life will teach you. So learning and then continuing to learn as your life gets more complicated. And sometimes that involves seeking out help. If you didn't learn, or if you learned from the trauma perspective, if you learned in a way that leaves you frustrated or angry or ignorant, not stupid, but ignorant, then seeking out help. And that's kind of where my teaching side comes in. Then you need to take action. You need to eventually have enough confidence to take action. Like, why don't people invest in their 401k? Because they're afraid they're going to invest in the wrong thing. That's what studies show. There are too many choices, and a lot of companies will limit the number of choices that a person has, but there's still, say, 6 choices, and they're worried about investing in the wrong thing, which means you need more education so that you can feel confident making a choice amongst, for most people, it's about 6. Their company will give them like 6 options for their 401k. So learn, take action, and then constantly reevaluate. Well, not constantly, annually reevaluate, regularly reevaluate. I'm not into day trading. I'm a buy and hold kind of person. So I don't even go back and look at reevaluating my investments except about once a year on my birthday. My birthday month gets a lot of things because that is when I remember to do all the things. So reevaluate, and you need to reevaluate your insurance. It may be when you're young and single, you don't need life insurance. But once you're in a committed relationship, you probably do need life insurance, because if something happened to you, the other person would need to replace your salary to continue the lifestyle that you had planned. You 5% in your 401k may be fine when you first start out, but working your way up to 10% or 15%. So learn, actually take action confidently, and reevaluate would be my 3.
Yeah. Okay, great. And then I'll just add to the thing you said last was 401k. At a bare minimum, make sure if you work for an employer that matches you, that you're doing that percent at a bare minimum. And I call that the free money, right? So at a bare minimum, you want to do that until a point. As you go along, you want to increase that contribution as well. Always diversification. You want to have diversification. Don't let that be the only money that you have for your intended retirement. So, Stacy, you've dropped a lot of information here. Wonderful conversation. I've enjoyed this. If people are interested in learning more from you, share what do you have going on? Where can they find you?
Yeah. So I have free content available on all the platforms under Prof. Stacy the Money Teacher. I have a website, Prof. Stacy the Money Teacher, where there's longer form teachings, so more like blog teachings. And I am hopefully this week wrapping up the last of a 6-part asynchronous course that'll be available. That's directly geared towards people who were starting out. So whether they're graduating from high school or graduating from college, roughly right now I'm calling it the Graduate's Guide to Finances. I don't know if that's copyrighted. I'm always somebody who I like run for the cliff and then, try and clean up as I go along. So to me, getting the content done, then I can worry about exactly what it's going to be called and where it's going to be. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, there'll be a 6-part asynchronous, meaning you can access it whenever you want, course for graduates that'll be available through my platform. So that's my current project. And you know what? I think I am going to go back to doing some show budgets. Maybe not once a week. Maybe I'll do them once a month.
Yeah, I
Because it is
love.
a lot of work, and I hear a lot now, this loud budgeting is very
Yeah,
popular now. And that's kind of what it was. It was, taking real people. Some people made a lot of money. Some people didn't. Some people lived in expensive cities. Some people lived, but like a variety of kinds of people, hoping that anybody who watched it would find somebody who felt like them and then
yeah.
could realize that they too could make changes to help them achieve their goals.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And maybe you can resurrect some of them so you don't have to like literally do them over because more people are going to know who you are
Yeah.
and you can resurrect the ones that you did. I love the way you did it because to your point, I think there's still this thing with budgeting, like the word sounds restrictive and I think showing it's really sitting down and like you said, go the way that you, um, display, showed it on the screen, I think would help those that are looking. I really truly believe that because I used to take a look at the way that you used to go through the process. So maybe resurrecting that content for the newer followers, that'd be great. So I know you said the course you have coming up, you're online everywhere, and tell them again where you're online.
It's Prof. Stacy the Money Teacher. So Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. It's on all the platforms, and that's my website as well, profstacythemoneyteacher.com.
And that'll be in the show notes, you all, as well. So, Stacy, thank you so much for being on the Money Exchange. Really appreciate this. Any parting words before you go?
No, it's been my pleasure, Patrina, and I hope I'll see you again, maybe at FinCon.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you all, you know that I love that you keep it locked here with your girl, Patrina Dixon. Those of you that are watching, make sure you drop down and hit that subscribe button and drop down and look at the links if you're interested in checking out Stacy's content and the course that she has available, going to have available. You want to make sure that you follow her so that you know when she drops that. Also, It's My Money Academy has a lot of content. That link will be down there below. You want to make sure that you check that out as well. I have course material in there as well as videos, and your girl has done the videos directly, so you can check that out. They're not full course videos, but they are helpful videos regarding the content that's in there. So check out It's My Money Academy. There is a monthly subscription as well as annual. Also, if you like to read about it, I have a blog, read about finances. I have a blog and I have a book called, It's My Money. Those links will be down in the show notes as well. If you are listening and I know you heard some great information here, make sure that you do not try to write this down while you're driving. The information is in the show notes for you as well. I appreciate all of you. If you enjoy what you hear, make sure you let us know that. Give us a like, drop a comment, and then share. Sharing is caring, so make sure that you share the episode as well. I appreciate you. Make it a great day.